So in previous class, we discussed about the soil, what is soil and how does it evolve, these kind of things we discussed in the previous class. Today is the second class and today we will be talking about the soil profiling, which is another important criteria or feature of soil. So before jumping to soil profile, we will look at the difference between the rock and soil, because in most cases we think that soil generates from rock, or is there actually any difference from, what is the major difference from rock and soil? So I have pointed out three major differences here, but you may find many more, but I think these three important differences are existing between soil and rock. So first one is plant and animal life. So is present in soil. That means we cannot find any trace amount of life, whether it is plant or animal, in rock. But when we are talking about soil, then plant and animal can be easily found in soil. So this is a major difference from rock and soil. Secondly, if we closely look at the structure of the soil, then the organizational structure of a soil actually reveals the action of pedogenic processes. That means we'll be talking later on horizon or layer. So this kind of things, the layer in soil, that is the structural organization which reveals the action of pedogenic process. Pedogenic processes means the genesis of soil or the soil forming processes. So we can find a structural organization in soil, but in rock we may not find the same structural organization or the similar kind of structural organization in rock. And thirdly, soil has a capacity to respond to environmental change. For example, if you see the landslides in Chittagong hilly areas, so the composition or the structure of the soil previously will be completely altered after a landslide. That means soil has the capacity to respond based on many environmental changes. So we can see the changes by analyzing the gains and losses. So sometimes soil can gain something or it can also lose something. So these are the major differences from where we can understand that major difference is existing between rock and soil. So let's move on the next slide. A set of few terms was developed to describe soil features such as soil profile and soil horizon. So today we'll be more focusing on soil profiling. So I have picked two terms, soil profile and soil horizon. So what is a soil profile and what is a soil horizon? So in our daily life, we have experienced soil profile, but did not study it through the literature or through the help of science. But all of us actually experienced the soil profile once or many times. For example, most of us are from villages. So if you see the cutting of a pond, so there are many different layers under the surface, beneath the surface where we stand. So actually soil profile is the vertical face. That means it is a vertical, not horizontal. It is a vertical face exposed by excavating the soil from the surface to the parent material. So to penetrate the parent material, that means the bedrock, which is very difficult tasks, but above the bedrock we can cut the vertical layer of the soil. So that vertical face, which is exposed by excavating or by cutting the surface up to the parent material, up to the bedrock, that is the soil profile. That is a vertical portion of the for example, you can take a piece of a pie. So if you consider a full cake, and if you cut a piece of a cake, so you can say the different chocolate or some vanilla layer, etc. So this piece of the cake is actually a soil profile. Just think it as a soil profile. And then what is the soil horizon? So if we take the cake piece, then there are many layers like chocolate layers, vanilla layers, and there are some creamy layers. and then the baked flour. So these layers are actually, we can compare it with the soil horizon. But how do we distinguish one layer from another? That is a question. So layers in the profile are distinguished by their color, hardness, texture, the occurrence of that structure, and other visible properties. We'll be talking more on this portion. And we will also get to know two terms. One is alluvial, another one is also alluvial, but the pronunciation is almost same, but the formation of the words is different. First one is E, starts with E, and second one starts with I. So this is two different terms. From which materials are generally washed downwards from the layer. For example, if you consider raining on the soil, so with the rainwater, you can imagine that some materials inside the soil will be washed downwards. So from which layer that water is going downward, that is called as alluvial. And lower layers where those particles are accumulated, that is called alluvial with I. So I'll discuss more on this. So let's get next slide.
Sir, can you please differentiate soil profile and soil horizons more particularly? You compared both with a piece of cake, with layers of cake. It's
Okay.
not actually
Okay.
clear.
I think yes, I'll make it clear. That piece of a cake, if you consider that piece of a cake, that is the soil profile or the cake profile. But if you consider how many layers are in that cake, in that piece, so there may be 4 or 5 layers, one chocolate, one vanilla layer, one with the cake layer itself. So there may be 4 or 5 layers in the piece of cake. So that layers are called actually the soil horizon. And that piece of the cake is can be compared with the soil profile. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. So if we look in okay, let me clear once again. So this whole thing is actually a soil profile, and if you see that there are different colors with different layers, so these are actually the horizon. But if you consider the whole, it is a piece of a cake or it is a soil profile. This is a soil profile, the vertical section of that surface beneath us. So this whole thing is a soil profile, and these different color layers are known as the soil horizon. So if we look in a roadside cart, or what I already mentioned about the pond cart, we will observe various layers in the soil. These layers are called soil horizons. So these are the soil horizons. This color, this one, then this one, then this one, then this one, and this one. There are actually, if we grossly think, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 horizon. So the organization of this horizon, the organization, that means when comes this one, then this one, then this one, then this one, and finally the bedrock. So this is the formation, or this is the organization of the layer. So this organization of the layer is known as a soil profile. And this is very important to know that the soil profile is not a very constant thing, because every soil may be different according to their soil horizon. Because for example, this is known as a horizon. Some soil may be lack of this A horizon, or some soil may be lack of B horizon, but this is the standard form, or this is the ideal profile of a soil. So we'll be discussing on that ideal profile of a soil, but some soil might be missing of some horizon, that is different, but generally we will consider this whole thing as a ideal soil profile. So how to define types of horizon? Yes, I think someone wants to say something. Yes, one
Yes,
man.
sir.
Yes.
Sir, why there are different layers in the soil, sir?
Yes, we'll be talking later, but think that there are some processes. Okay, so this layer cannot form itself by itself, but some kind of environmental processes. So in the first class, we told about that rock fragmentation or rock unconsolidated rock that is used for the soil formation, and there might be many more climatic conditions through which these horizons can be uh, formed. For example, if we consider this is actually the organic form of the soil. So if that area is rich in vegetation, so this layer will be more thick, and some area if there is no vegetation, so there will be less amount of organic material as well as the thin layer of organic material or a horizon will be found. So there are many other formation process through which these horizons are made. We will be talking on each horizon how they are made up. Okay, is it clear?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay. So soil profiling, how to define types of horizon. This is your, actually this was your question. So how to define, how we define different types of horizon. First of all, their color, texture, structure, and thickness, which can be easily seen. Secondly, those horizon can also be differentiated by its chemical and mineral contents. But unfortunately, for chemical and mineral contents, we need a laboratory for testing them. So this is not seen very easily in naked eyes, but their color, texture, structure, and thickness can be seen easily through our eyes. So if we see their color, texture, and structure, I'll be talking later on the different color, which means different horizons later. But now consider that we will use this kind of tools to differentiate the horizon. And we'll also discuss about their characteristics. Then all these properties are used to define types of soil horizon, because these properties actually are used to define types of different soil horizon. The master horizons, and again, if this horizon, for example this A horizon, there can be different characteristics in this A horizon. So what will we do then? Then we will use A and A. We will use A and then we will use subscript, okay, subscript like A X or A B, something like that. So we will use subscript to make, I think someone is, okay,
Sorry, sir.
yes, no problem, but be careful, okay, because I didn't choose to restrict your users,
No,
and
sir. I
don't yes, okay,
Google
no
will
problem,
catch.
no problem, but treat it carefully. Anyway, so the master horizon may be followed by a subscript to make further distinction between the same horizon, the same master horizon. I'll be talking that too later. So this is actually a ideal form of a soil profile and their different horizon. So this is a soil profile, and we can see that there are many different horizon. For example, this is O, this is A, then E, then B, then C, and finally R. So what actually they are their meaning, and why they are called like O? Why isn't it N? So I'll be talking on that too. So first of all, bedrock. I'll start from the bottom part, okay? From the bottom part, from where the soil actually started to generate. The bottom part. I'll not come from the bottom to down, but rather I'll start from bottom to up, not up to bottom. So in the bottom there is bedrock, which is very, you can see that this is a very hard part. Actually, this is the rock. This is the pure rock. So what is bedrock? At the start of the soil formation. So we already know in the first class that the soil formed on the bedrock. Okay, so at the start of soil formation, the parent material is unaltered. This is unaltered. That means consolidated. This is not unconsolidated. So if you see the right side of the picture, these things are actually the hard rock, and there is no soil. This is actually the rock. But if you see closer to the upper side, there is some greenish things here and some brownish things here. So might be the soil formation process has been started in this area, but in this very surface area, on the rock surface, the formation of the soil has not been started yet. So this is actually the bedrock, looks like. So this is the initiation process of the soil formation. So this referred into as the R layer. We denote this as the R layer. So this portion of the soil profile is known as the R layer, which is bedrock, which is very much hard. So then comes the sea layer. Okay, so let's jump to the sea layer or sea horizon. So what is sea horizon? Sea horizon is up above the bedrock. So weathering begins to operate. So weathering actually starts in this horizon. So the material starts to undergo alteration, or which we call as unconsolidated parent material. So this is the, you can see in the right hand pictures, this is the unconsolidated, this is the unconsolidated parent material, and beneath that there is the bedrock. So this comprise a superficial deposit overlying bedrock. So this is a superficial deposit. This is nothing but a deposit of their parent material. Where a superficial deposit is only thin, when this layer is thin, then we can understand that the weathering process is slower or less. But if this layer is thick, then the weathering is higher. This is very simple. If the weathering is low, then the sea horizon is little, and if the weathering process is higher, then the sea horizon will be thick. So this is actually the sea horizon, and the weathering process may less through this material into the underlying bedrock or composite sea horizon. Okay, so this is actually the sea horizon. Then sea horizon means, if we see the soil profile, this is the sea horizon from this portion up to this portion. So this is actually the sea horizon, or we can call it as a parent material, and it is unconsolidated. The main difference between bedrock and the sea horizon is that bedrock is in consolidated form, and the sea horizon is in unconsolidated form. Okay, now come to the B horizon. So is it clear? Can you understand what I'm saying? Are you with me?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Okay,
Yes,
so
sir.
if you
Yes,
have
sir.
some
Sir.
question, if you have some question, or if you want to say something, just raise your hand in the chat box, or then I'll give you the floor. So now come to the B horizon. So what is actually the B horizon? With continued weathering, this is very important. Okay, every horizon is very important to understand. Otherwise, you will not be able to differentiate one horizon from another. So B horizon with continued weathering, So weathering process will be continued in this horizon. With continued weathering, the soil material becomes increasingly transformed so that the original structure of the parent material is lost. For example, in the previous picture, if you see, if the weathering process is higher than this portion. So if we go up, the weathering is higher than the lower portion. So if the weathering is higher, then what happened? Becomes increasingly transformed so that the original structure of the parent material is lost. So you can see that these are the original structure of the parent material, if we see that. But up above this one, we cannot see some structure like this one. That means that is changing. The structure of the parent material is changing above, on the above horizon, due to high weathering factors, so that the original structure of the parent material is lost. Okay, also recognized on the basis of transfer process. So this horizon is also recognized on the basis of transfer process. So in the first point, we differentiate it from their structure, which one is more weathered and which one is less weathered. The less weathered is the C horizon, and the more weathered is the B horizon, and their physical, on the basis of their physical structure, we can differentiate from B horizon to C horizon. Another way of differentiation is the transfer process. So the transfer process can also be used as the tool of differentiating the two horizons of B and C. So B horizon is also known as subsoil, rich in minerals that leached from the A or E horizon and accumulated here. This is very important to understand. So B horizon can also be called as a subsoil in some paper or in other books. you can understand that what is subsoil. So B horizon actually can be termed as subsoil. Okay, I think two participants have raised their hands. Okay, okay, first one, you can ask your question. You can ask your question. I see two participants have raised their hand.
So, here transfer processes. What do you mean by this transfer processes?
Yes,
What
yes.
kind of
Okay,
processes?
okay, okay. I understand your question. Another one has also raised his or her hand. So anyone wants to ask something like this? Okay. So yeah, you have asked that what is the transfer process actually? Okay. The transfer process is the leaching. Leaching. Have you heard the term leaching? Leaching means with the help of some media like water, some portion of the soil or some particles of the soil can be leached down. For example, if in some places precipitation is higher, then the leaching is also higher. Leaching means চুইয়ে চুইয়ে পড়া, অর্থাৎ পানিটা যখন চুইয়ে পড়বে, লিচ আউট হয়, সেটাকে বলা হয় লিচিং। তোমার সামনে ধরো কোনো একটা সারফেস এরিয়া আছে, একটা ফিল্ড আছে, and sometimes it has been raining for 10 or 20 hours, then the water will go down, and not only the water, along with the water it will take some particles also, and at some point the water will travel with that particle and settle it down. So that is known as the leaching, and that is the transfer process. So if you see the right hand picture, okay, I think 40 now, role 47 has raised his hand. Okay, you can ask.
Sir, I have lowered my hands down, sir.
Okay, thank you. So this is actually the leaching process or the transfer process, through which the minerals from the A or E horizons are accumulated in this B horizon. So if you consider the right hand of the picture up to this, so which one is the B horizon? Can anyone answer? Just seeing the picture, which one is the B horizon in this picture? Can anyone say?
Sir, red portion of the pink.
Exactly, yes, that's true. This portion is the B horizon because the leaching process, in the first point we have mentioned that with continued weathering the soil material becomes increasingly transformed so that the original structure of the parent material is lost. So from this part we can differentiate that parent material, but after this part this is different from this portion. So this one actually the B horizon. Another way of identifying is the transfer process or the leaching out of the minerals. If we see the other layer of the soil profile, the leaching materials are coming down, and at that point they are settled down. They are settled down and they cannot penetrate in this portion, but up to that point they are settled down. So this is actually the V horizon. Okay, and those minerals are accumulated here because minerals are very tiny parts and they can travel along with the water. So they are accumulated in this part, and this is called the B horizon. So who asked the question about the transfer process? Is it clear to you, or should I elaborate more?
Yes, sir, I understand.
Okay, thank you. So if we go to the next horizon, which is E horizon. So this has been heavily leached. The previous horizon is also leached down, but the E horizon actually heavily leached due to precipitation and irrigation process. So precipitation can be a factor, or irrigation can be a factor for the leach out of soluble nutrients or clay, because soluble nutrients with the water, it is very tiny portion, and the clay, this is we also know. Do you know the difference between sand, silt and clay? Anyone?
Yes,
Yes. Could you please say what is the difference between sand, silt and clay?
They are varies in their grain size.
Yes. So which one is bigger and which one is smaller?
স্যার স্যান্ড সব থেকে বড় স্যার।
Okay.
আর সিল্ট ক্লে সব থেকে ছোট স্যার।
Which one is smaller, silt or clay?
স্যার ক্লে স্যার।
Okay, thank you. So is it so I think all of you already know about these things. Yes, that's true. So if we consider that sand, silt and clay, so clay is the smallest part. So along with the water, minerals, soluble nutrients and this clay, they can travel or they can leach down. So this has been heavily leached due to precipitation and irrigation. Soluble nutrients or clay are lost from the E horizon. So this is lost from the E horizon. Which E horizon loses the soluble nutrients and clay. So if the soluble nutrients and clay are lost from the E horizon, then the light will be, the color will be light. The color will not be dark and generally found beneath the O horizon. This E horizon is found under the O horizon. We will be talking on O horizon in next slides. So in the very beginning, I was mentioning about the eluviated and eluviated with I and E. So if you see that example again, so from which materials are generally washed downwards, that is known as with eluvial, eluvial. So from where the materials are lost. So if we compare this with E horizon, so E horizon is telling that heavily leached. That means something is lost from this horizon. That means this is eluviated or leached of clay or minerals and organic matters, leaving a concentration of sand and silt. So sand and silt cannot go downwards, so that sits in this horizon, but clay will be lost. So missing in some, this E horizon can be missing in some soils, but this is often found in older soils and forest soils. So can anyone say which horizon is actually the E horizon in the right picture?
Sir, the light color
I
portion.
think the darker portion.
The darker portion?
No, sir, the light color portion.
Okay, so we can we see that there are two types of answer. One is saying the darker portion and one is saying the lighter portion. So I have already mentioned that in E horizon something is lost. What is lost? The soluble nutrients or the organic matter or the minerals. So if something is lost, their color will be lighter, right? So something, if something is, so if you lose something, for example, if your girlfriend is lost or if your boyfriend is lost, then your face will be pale. Your face will be like pale means biborno, সাদা হয়ে যাবে, right? So this is something you can correlate these things. So in E horizon something is lost, something is leached down. So if something is leached down, it will be lighter in color. So this portion is actually the E horizon. Okay. So in the next is A horizon. So A horizon, actually E horizon is beneath the A horizon. Surface, this is called the surface horizon, okay, that largely consists of minerals and with appreciable amount of organic matter. So now we talk about organic matter. So up to this horizon, up to E horizon, we did not mention about the organic matter, but when we come to the A horizon, we are mentioning that organic matter and with appreciable amount of, that means a huge amount of organic matter. So surface horizon, this consists of minerals as well as the appreciable amount of organic matter. So this horizon is mainly the surface layer of many soils in grassland and agricultural lands. Why? Because in grasslands the vegetation will be higher, that means the organic matter will also be higher. So that surface horizon or A horizon can be mostly found in grassland and agricultural land. Or we can say, or we can term it as a topsoil or A horizon. Topsoil consists of mostly minerals from parent material with organic matter combined. So this is the combination of organic material and their parent material. So fertility actually depends on this horizon. If the organic material is higher in this portion, their fertility will go high. And if the organic matter or any other minerals material will be lower, then their fertility will also be lower. So can anyone say which one is the A horizon in the right picture?
So the
Sir, the
black
upper
is the dark
portion.
portion.
The
The
dark
dark
portion.
portion, yes.
Upper portion,
This,
darker.
this, not the upper portion. Upper portion is these things. The dark portion,
Dark
dark
portion, dark
portion
portion.
is the A horizon or the topsoil. So whenever you hear, whenever you actually hear the term topsoil, that means the A horizon, which is the darker portion and the combination of minerals and organic matter. So now comes to the O horizon. So why do we call it O horizon? Because the O comes from the organic materials. So mostly organic materials at various stages of decomposition. So mostly in this horizon we find organic material, nothing else, just organic materials at various stages of decomposition. That means it can be a green leaf or it can be a brown leaf which has gone through the decomposition. So various stages of decomposition can be found in this horizon, and mostly they are composed of organic materials. So most prominent in forested areas. So where do we find the organic material in the forested areas mostly? So O horizon can be found mostly in forested areas where there is accumulation of debris fallen from the trees. So debris means their branches, their leaves, their and any parts of the tree, that is called debris. So where there are more trees, the debris will be more, and when they fall, so that will compose our O horizon. So thin in this O horizon can be thin in some soils or thick in some others part and not present at all in others. And sometimes if there is no vegetative areas, so there will be no O horizon, right? Because if we do not find any kind of vegetation, so there will be no O horizon. So there might be some soil profile where we do not find O horizon. So this was actually the different types of horizons. So if we recap once again very quickly, so there are O horizon in the top. Now we'll come from the top to bottom. So if we consider that O horizon, which is very much organic, the greenish part or the decomposed part, very vegetative areas, the decomposed plant parts are actually found in O horizon. So this is organic material composed, and beneath the O horizon there is A horizon, which we know as a topsoil, and topsoil is combined with the minerals and the decomposed organic matter. So there we find also the parent material and minerals and organic matters, all the things, and this is actually defined by the fertility of the soil. Do you want to say anything? Okay, so this is actually the this portion will indicate the fertility of the soil, the A horizon or the topsoil. Then comes the E horizon, which is eluviated horizon. That means this horizon is heavily leached, and their mineral parts, the soluble mineral parts, and their mineral salts actually, all the things are, or the clay materials are leached to this portion. So that's why this becomes lighter in color and this becomes the darker in color. So this E or eluviated horizon means that this horizon is heavily leached. Now if we consider the B horizon, that clay material or the mineral parts which is leached, that settle down in B horizon. So that's why this horizon is darker in color, which we call it as a subsoil. Now if we go down, then this C horizon is actually the parent material, because the weathering portion is lower than this B horizon, and this comes from the unconsolidated part of the bedrock. And if we go further down, we will find that bedrock or R horizon, so which is very hard in part. So this is actually the different horizons, and this whole is known as a soil profile. So yes, that was all for today's class about the soil profiling. So if you have some questions, you can ask.
স্যার আমরা এগুলোকে এই ও এ ই এই ধরনের শব্দ দ্বারা কেন আইডেন্টিফাই করছি?
Okay, okay, nice question. So why do we designate them as O, A, E, B and all other things? So O means, I have already mentioned that this is the organic materials, right? So we find organic materials in this portion. That's why we call it as a O horizon. A means that A class or the alphabetically order starts with A. That means the topsoil. So this is actually the top, in top portion. That's why we call it as A horizon. And this E horizon, actually this horizon is heavily leached down, which is known as a eluviation. That means this eluviation, E comes from that E horizon. And B means that is subsoil. I don't know why it is called B. And C, maybe following the alphabet of A. But R means the bedrock. Rock starts with R. That's why this is R. So yes, that's their terminological initiation. I think so. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So if you have any other questions, you can ask related with the soil profile.
Sir, where is the another elevated zone that start with I?
Okay, actually that is this portion, or that can be this portion, because when it is leached down, this is actually formed in this part, this layer. And there is not only this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 horizon. There are many sub horizon among this major horizon. So I'll be talking later with the subscript. I have already mentioned that if we denote Bx here or B something like that, that will be the further differentiation of this B horizon. So mostly in grossly this can be with the I horizon, eluviated horizon, B. Okay. So I think this is it about the soil profiling. So in the next class, we'll be talking about different things in a soil formation process or their properties as well. So thank you so much. So anyway, if you have more questions, you can ask